Well met, lords and ladies, Jacob Butter speaking. I'm not going to waste your time. You want to know what the title's about? I'll tell you what the title's about. Something terrible has indeed happened. Most of you who watch my channel frequently will have heard of Johnny, Wipeout Arena Fan 14, the creator of Disco Pops, Ballroom Pops, and collaborator on several other projects. The very first person to actually join in and sort of kickstart a franchise out of one simple fan product that he himself was an enjoyer of. He opened up those doors to a bunch of other people and connected loads of people into something started by one of his friends, as someone who became friends with him as a result of that very project. Disco Pops is pretty significant. I've obviously covered it extensively on here. Those reviews, of course, are there. They're available as they always have been. And while my opinions have obviously gone up and down, ultimately I appreciate everything that they actually represent. Because Disco Pops the show wasn't just the things that I said. Disco Pops the show in itself shows one thing that I love to see. The reason that I start from the earliest point of a person's channel whenever I go to Guts Review, or most of the time anyway, if I'm going to cover them extensively, is because I like to see the growth and evolution of people as creators, as storytellers, as video producers, as basically anything, even just people in general. And Disco Pops was that because it's almost 3 years old at this point, and I can tell you, I speak from experience. When you make a gacha series for that long, you do end up learning. You do end up evolving. It's inevitable. You can't stay the same that whole time. And Ballroom Pops was something else. It was, by that point, Johnny already had a community, and then was and then by this point was making stuff live for sometimes, and asking people all the time for their own input. Ballroom Pop's the result of people, who enjoyed the other pop series, getting to see something for themselves now that themselves forming when they'd already joined the channel. It was quite something, and I personally enjoyed the fact that in the early days, there's a lot of stuff in there that I thought, okay, this is going to be interesting. These, and seeing them actually come to life before my eyes, or just in general with Johnny asking for advice and help and feedback. I mean, Johnny himself actually, he's gone back and forth on how he feels about criticism and the different forms, and he was always a good sport about making about how I would go about reviews, particularly, and sometimes even the things that some of the guests would say. I mean, he has ended up crying on several occasions as well to some things that particular guests have said, and also possibly myself. I don't really remember, but just in case, I am sorry for that. That's never the intention, but he never told me to pump the brakes or anything. In fact, it seemed like he was actually a big fan of how those videos, were made and such. And I was a big fan of him, of course. I realize that I'm making it sound like he's passed away or something. He hasn't. It's just I'm speaking in the past tense a lot because of the thing that has indeed happened. I just want to emphasize, first of all, what kind of person Johnny actually is, what kind of creator that he is, and how he brings people together in a wholesome way. Doesn't rock the boat too much. If anything, he's just a fan of a bunch of stuff. I mean, even the stuff about when he brought in MLB and MLP and Power Rangers as well into the mix of that particular franchise, for better or worse. It's ultimately because he appreciates all these different things, and wants to add his own spin to them, much like the Pops themselves. Which is why it is with a heavy heart that I actually report to people that Johnny's channel has been terminated. Not by himself, but by YouTube. I found this out today. Thank you to Josh for bringing this to my attention. And my condolences to Johnny. This kind of thing, like that really hits you a lot whenever that happens. I mean, I can't say that I've ever actually had a channel terminated myself. I obviously was demonetized for like 90 days, possibly more than that, depending on how long it took to actually get back. And that is devastating when you think that you've done something wrong. And this has happened to a friend of mine before. You know, the artist formerly known as It's Mimi-chan, now known as It's Shorty-chan, had to start pretty much all over again because of a YouTube termination. And that's when I could sort of understand why, in a certain way. I argued heavily against it at the time and encouraged them to actually, go and like take any avenue possible to actually try and see if there's any way to upturn that. Because by that point, what do you have to lose? They've already taken away the thing that you've actually built from the ground up yourself and the access point to most of your community. You might as well fight the good fight. And I'm sure that Johnny is doing the same thing. That being said, it looks like it hasn't worked because there's a new community post on his other channel of his backup, I suppose, and now I suppose his main, where he's gone over that and has actually been messaging to see what's to keep people in the know, at least the few ones that he has access to. So we've got some things where he says, hey guys, sadly my main account for some reason got terminated, so what I'm hopefully going to try and do is make any and all gacha videos here, which means I'm resetting Disco and Ballroom Pops. Don't worry, we still have the 1 and 3 year anniversary videos respectively. They just won't be released until December. Sorry guys. So there's several things to unpack there actually. First of all, the use of for some reason there makes it seem like he hasn't been notified as to why exactly that's happened, which tracks because neither was Shorty. We all just sort of guessed it was because of the Taming the Bad Boy videos. But it could have been anything else. From his perspective, I do remember that there was some videos that he used a lot of things from Dancing with the Stars, like the actual live action things, or I think some things from like other dance competitions that might have been copyrighted. It might have been just a heavy use of copyright because of the clips and stuff. I don't know. I didn't watch those videos, so I don't know if he added commentary or edited them in a transformative manner. That's just my personal guess. Ultimately, we may never actually know. But I suppose I would urge him to think about that potentially if that was an issue, because again, I just watched his gacha videos. So I don't really know. And then also the other thing to mention is the resetting Disco and Ballroom Pops. Now, I can understand doing this because obviously that's probably the best way to make for him, at least so he thinks, to get something out of this situation, is that all of the mistakes of the past, all of the rugged and rudimentary stuff was that used to be there, now no longer has to be what represents his content. Ultimately, that does mean that some of the crossovers that on other people's channels will be affected. But I guess from his perspective, that's the only thing that can be done. Which brings me to my first bit of good news. Johnny, if you're watching this, that is actually not the case. Because all of the reviews of Disco Pops and Ballroom Pops that I have done, including the entire first season of Disco Pops and some of the second, and every single episode of Ballroom Pops, including one episode that I did recently, which is unfiltered, and I still have the raw file for, I have downloaded and put into a Google Drive for you. So if you want to take the screenshots from those videos and like re-edit them, or maybe if you want they want me to have a crack at it, I don't know. If you want me to go through those in more detail, but basically they're all there. There's a whole Google Drive folder that you can access and download at your heart's discretion and do with whatever you want. If you want to reset the series that is and start over, that's that's your choice. I understand that, but if you do want to keep those old videos, remake them, and then put them out as the way that you envisioned before, that's also an option for you. I just wanted to make sure that I gave you the option because that's honestly probably the most that I can do in this situation, apart from one other thing which I will get to at the end of this video. The Dance with the Stars 2 will be reset. Also, he mentions the American Eurovision Song Contest, which again, I don't know if that was using other clips and such. We're going to reset those two contests. You open the polls, there are couples left. So he's still doing polls, he's still doing everything. He just wants to make that's why ultimately, hopefully this channel will will bring as many people back as possible. Hopefully he has access to a lot of those, but I'm guessing that he doesn't. So here's one other thing that I can actually do, and that's the reason I'm making this video in the first place. I want to actually give, a call to action. The name of the new channel was probably the first thing at all in the description. Please, to everyone who is watching this video, click on that first link, subscribe to that channel, set the bell to all notifications, and watch his videos. Watch whatever videos that he posts on there. Give them your support, the same way that you do for me, but even more so. And to Johnny, that hopefully that will help you out at least somewhat. Again, the decision is yours ultimately of what to actually do with either the folder or even just the channel in general. And the best thing that I can say is that you can rebuild yourself. The example I gave before, It's Shorty Chan is doing pretty well at the moment, considering that they're not exactly the most active of channels. Back when they were pulling in a lot of figures for, ultimately, they used the termination as sort of an excuse to rebrand themselves, because they wanted to stop doing gacha videos, because the only reason apparently they were doing gacha in the first place was because they didn't have access to Minecraft. I'm pretty sure that well, as soon as they got a Minecraft account, which I think I gave them, I can't remember actually, but either way, as soon as that happened, the doors were open and the whole rebranding has commenced, and they now have got a Twitch account and all that stuff. They're doing incredibly well and have a pretty loyal fan base to boot. I'm hoping that you have the same, and that if I end up refreshing the page, I'll see, there's more subscribers than when I put this together. But who knows, really? Who actually knows? And I'm probably not going to, very heavily edit this. I'm going to leave it mostly as it is, because I want this to be out as soon as possible. The folder is being prepared as I speak. So, I guess this is my random thoughts, rare unscripted Jacob video that is gacha related, I suppose. That isn't Walking Wednesday. But yeah, best of luck to you, Johnny, and thank you to everyone else for bearing with this video and for any support that you throw Johnny's way, because he really does deserve it. So, I guess that's it. Until next time, farewell.